right, TNA Wrestling. An episode of Impact that I can easily say we got a lot to talk about. Guys, as I've always stated, I'm not the type of guy that won't tell you how I feel and what's going on. What you're looking at in TNA right now, legitimately, this episode was the most interesting that we've ever seen in TNA since they rebranded. This episode is one of the best we've actually gotten. Now, I'm not going to tell you it was perfect because it was not. It wasn't perfect. Some of the matches just didn't look that good, and it felt like it was dragged. But I'm going to tell you what they did here in the back. What we got in the background, setting up what's going to happen in Rebellion, and of course Unbreakable, is something we can literally talk about. And let's go with the first match. Elijah versus Kaz. Now, I wasn't looking forward to seeing Elijah go up against Kaz. I wasn't. Honestly, I was not. And seeing part of that match when Elijah looked like he was going to do a power slam on Kaz, and literally Elijah, once Kaz grabbed him and pulled at his face, he just fell over like a ton of bricks. One of the problems Elijah has, he's very stiff. He's no better than Hammerstone. He's a big muscle guy, but he's very inflexible. Doesn't mean he can't still talk very well, or sing, or do some power moves that are literally good looking. But he is very stiff. And when certain things happen, you can see that he cannot adjust, and he will fall over like a ton of bricks, which he did. Now, what made this interesting was not the match itself. It was the interaction between Joe Henry and Kaz. As Joe was on commentary, he was there to watch. And you see Kaz get into the face of Joe after he did that move, which basically made Elijah roll over like a ton of bricks and just go boop, like a rock. He attacks Joe Henry. Joe Henry shoves him. Well, he didn't really attack him. He really pie-faced him. He just went like this. And then Joe shoves him back. And as Joe is about to go at him, Kaz basically sidesteps. And then Joe and Elijah bump heads. And pretty much Elijah could not recover quick enough, and he lost the match. But that wasn't the thing that made it interesting. It pretty much was a fight afterwards, which wasn't really a fight. It was a beatdown. And here's the thing. When you look at Joe Henry throwing forearm shots onto Kaz, it was so gentle. Oh, I wish sometimes they remember, yes, you don't want to hurt the guy or girl. If you're a female or male, you don't want to hurt them. But you gotta give a little bit of, like, ooh, that's gonna hurt later. I'm gonna be red in a minute from that hit. But it's like that. As they say, when you give a chop, guess what? The person who gives a chop gets hurt just as much as the person who takes it. Sometimes you gotta make it look good. You don't want to really hurt the person badly. You don't. But you gotta make at least it look effective. Now, Joe was very gentle most of that fight, and most of how he dealt with the security shoving around and doing what he was doing. Once you see Elijah grab him and try and pull him off of Kaz, and supposedly he hurt his arm, you heard him go, ow! This is where it gets interesting. Because now they're trying, unless this is real, you never know. It could actually be real. I don't believe it is. But if it is actually real, and Joe has a gray area of the rotator cuff that's sprained. Now, supposedly, if it's real, because this could still be story, he's hurt, but they don't know how badly hurt. He didn't tear his rotator cuff. He strained the muscles in the rotator cuff. So that made it impossible for him to lift his arm. So now, it's a question, will he be going to Rebellion? Supposedly he will, but they don't know yet, because we did see the doc. He did come out, talk to Gia, and he said, we don't know. It's going to take time to figure this out. But he is Joe Henry. He could probably recover pretty quickly, or he could be longer. We don't know yet. But here's the thing. By them doing this, at least now they're giving something to Joe to work with. If this is fake, I do believe it's a work. I don't believe he's hurt. And it makes sense to give him something before Rebellion because I'm being honest. I'm being 100% honest. Yes, Joe's momentum is still good, but he doesn't really have many people to work with. Look, he's worked with Nick for a while. He's worked with Ryan. Yes, he really did some work with Moose in his early parts when he was Digital Media Champion. But Moose is not doing that right now. So he only has Kaz, and now the person who showed up at the end of the show, who's supposed to be the number one contender, who will go after Joe in Rebellion, which I'll talk about in a minute. So it was good to see they are trying to layer some level of story for Joe, showing him injured and then letting the people who he could be going up against to have to deal with it before Rebellion, which is a good thing because we need some type of build because, let's be honest, and we're going to be honest here, when it comes to Impact Wrestling, they never build very well going into the pay-per-views or their Impact Plus, now TNA Plus shows. They never build them very well. And now with NXT joining them, working with them, not in any of their major pay-per-views. I mean, they have had matches on the pay-per-views, but not making a major story in the pay-per-view heavily. I know you're going to say, well, what happened to Wentz and what happened to West? That was a story, but it was not a major story. It was a story, a good story, but it wasn't a major one. That's near the top of the card. Because right now, they're going to do one that's on top of the card for Rebellion. Now we're getting that, but I'll elaborate a little more. Next will be the Meta Girls versus Spitfire. We did get Gigi Golan, and we did get Tatum Paxley watching in the background. And seeing Gigi eating some popcorn just watching, I'm going like, girl, I want to be that popcorn. I'm just saying this. I'm just joking. But let me make this very clear. I don't hate the Meta Girls. I don't hate Spitfire. But since this was the first time any one of them have dealt with one another, you can tell this match was sloppy. Now, mind you, the best person there that wrestled the best was Jody Threat. She looked the most polished and looked the best to seem to be able to adjust to Lash Legend and the Akard Jackson. But who was the worst one there? I'm going to be honest. And as beautiful as she is, and she is athletic, Miss Jackson don't got it. Takara Jackson really needs to break away from Lash Legends and work on her craft. Look, she's always been in the background when it came to Meta-4. And as it comes to Meta Girls, the one who is the most important person there is Lash Legend. Does not meant to say that Takara Jackson can't wrestle. It's obvious she has personality. She has beauty. She can, to a certain point, wrestle, but you can tell 100% she's not focused on it. And they need to break those two up and make Miss Jackson be the focus of Miss Jackson, not being Miss Jackson working with Lash Legend. Now, I'm not going to say Lash didn't look a little sloppy herself, because she did. And I'm making it very clear. I still like Lash. I didn't like her personality when she was going up against, and understand, look what's going on with Laura Valkyria. She doesn't really do the witch thing anymore, witch being the crow. She doesn't do that anymore. Yeah, she wears the clothes, but she doesn't really focus on any of her promos like that. And when it comes to Lash Legend, the same thing. She's not doing the same thing she did before. She grew a personality. So I'm glad to see she has progressed. And she's still not one of the best wrestlers. But due to the fact that she can adjust, she is athletic, and she's pretty strong as hell, it has helped a lot of her all-around ability as a pro wrestler. Miss Jackson, on the other hand, who did get hurt one time, hurt her wrist, I believe she broke it, and I understand you can't really do all the stuff you want if you got a broken wrist. I get it. Miss Jackson needs work. She does have the look. She does have a good personality. She can talk. But if she doesn't start working on more rounding her wrestling, we're going to keep seeing how she's working like in that ring. Yes, she did a nice front flip when she was in a wrist lock with Danny Luna. But I'm telling you right now, she needs work. Flat out work. And you know who won? It was Metagirls, which is fine. But the question is, how far they're going to go with the Metagirls. Next. The next match is the Hardys versus the Great Hands. And I'm like, do I actually believe the Hardys are going to be beaten by the Great Hands before Rebellion? Really? No. What are they doing with the Great Hands? Not much. They're the cabinet for Mustafa Ali. That's what it is. And even though we did see a nice segment where you're getting to talk about let me give it to you like this, and I'm being honest here. Nick and Ryan Nimitz have never been a tag team. Never. They only just started tagging in the last few months. That's the truth. Ever since Nick has now come to TNA, he's now been mainly a singles competitor until he decided, or the people in the back said, look, why don't you two start tagging together? Why not? You travel together, why don't you tag? So now they're tagging together. But I'm going to be honest here, even though they are brothers, they have never tagged together. They've never done it. So there's going to be a learning process between the two brothers who, after 20 years of being generally separated because Ryan has not worked in WWE before it became TKO WWE, they have not worked together as a tag team. So now, it's been a few months easily, they're beginning to learn how to tag. So, seeing that what did I feel about the segment when Matt was talking about his septum of his nose was broken because of Nick? It was good. Talking about how his kids were now traumatized because of seeing their dad's face get mangled was alright. The one who let it down was, Jeff. I like Jeff. I still do. But his part of the promo just didn't sound very good. It didn't. It just sounded choppy. Doesn't mean it was garbage. But I've always thought that if you're talking about which one can really do a great promo, I do believe Matt is a better promo than Jeff. But it doesn't mean Jeff doesn't have his moments where he really is good. And he has been good. But this one, it just didn't seem the best. It was Matt who made it. And hearing that it was Skylar who said, this is not 1999, this is 2025, you had your time, you used to be great. And I will say this about Matt, I like what he said. He said, in 1999, we were great wrestlers. In 2025, we're the GOATs of all time. So, we get the match. Because Santina came out to the St. John's crowd. And I will say the crowd was pretty good. It wasn't bad, actually. But let me give you like this. Did I believe that the no longer good hands, the great hands, are going to do what they're doing? Are going to win against the Hardys or the Knicks? Nick Nimitz and Ryan Nimitz and then the Nimitz? No. They've always jobbed. They are the jobber team of TNA. And to be honest, I wish they weren't. I'm telling you now. Seeing that Skylar and Hunch, who have been there for more than a few years, they should not be the jobber team. They need to bring people in, and they need to job even for them so they feel credible. They have not felt credible in more than a few years. Not credible at all since they became the good hands. They have not been credible. They've just been jobbing for everyone on main Impact TV. I'm sorry, it just feels like garbage. Until they're allowed to start winning matches and not have to cheat every time, I don't believe it. It doesn't make a difference how much you give them in the cabinet of Mustafa Ali. They feel useless. They can't get a gun. Like I said in my Dynamite review, when you look at Lance Archer, he's a big-ass guy who can go and even can talk. But guess what? They don't let him win in the clinch. He can destroy small guys, but then when it's an important guy, either small or big, he can't get it done. Instead of letting him win and feel important, they don't do it. So that's the same thing for the great hands. Now, since we are talking about the cabinet, what did I think about what happened with Santana, and I believe his name was Derek. Derek supposedly was in sobriety after 3 months. We didn't know what was going on. He handed him over to Santino and said, Santino, thank you for giving me his chance. He's been in sobriety for the last 3 months, and clearly he wants a good job. Thank you for giving me his chance. And Derek went off with Santino. Funny. But after what happened with the Great Hands, it seems that someone had an idea. Someone had an idea to take someone that Santana took under his wing, because Santana was on sobriety and still is, and decided to screw up his brain, screw his ass up, to make him go and collapse, pretty much go back into his addiction, and that is Ali. And I will tell you, seeing that scene where he's getting the equipment ready, you see Tasha come up to him and tell her boys, what I think it was his name, or tell us the Great Hands, to grab him, take him into the back, sit him down in front of Ali, and Ali said, I know what happened. I know what you did. I know about the car crash. I know you're the one. You're the one who caused that little girl to die. Well, she didn't die. But pretty much most people will say she's dead because she can't walk no more. And you get away with it. I'm doing that on purpose. Going across the screen to make it dramatic. And I can tell you, sorry if it was loud, that was a great idea they did. Whether they got the idea from TKO WWE's own writers or someone on the writing team figured it out. Doesn't matter. Even if it was Gail Kim, who is now gone from the company. Let's make it very clear. Gail's gone. If she was involved in coming up with that segment, never know. Good. She came up with a good idea that she helped with. Because once it was done and they let him go, and it was Hunch who said to Ali, why you let him go? You sure? And Ali said, yeah. And he asked him why. He's addicted. He'll destroy himself. And he walks away. And later in the segments, you see him just sitting there, hunched over in a chair, and pretty much he drank probably. And he looked at Santana because Santana came over to him and said, dude, what's going on? What's going on? Because the rest of the crew is asking what's going on because he just slumped there. And he goes over to the guy, I think Derek. Or was it Deckard? Or Derek? I can't remember. He says, what's going on? He says, I'm sorry. And then he realized he gave up. And that pissed off Santana so damn much. And that was good for development for Santana. As someone who's still in real life, I understand it because I lived in a house with one alcoholic and one heroin addict and 3 chain smokers. Understand, my half-brother, my mother, and my biological father, all were chain smokers. My mother was an alcoholic. My biological father was a chain smoker. My half-brother was a heroin addict. And I'm incredibly lucky I never caught on to any of that. I couldn't stand it, to be honest. And I'm lucky I didn't get it. I don't drink or smoke. So I'm very lucky. Or do the drug. No. But as someone who's grown up in a house like that, seeing how angry Santana is, to be honest, I've seen that. I've actually seen people who clean themselves up, and then if they're around someone who they thought were clean as well, they literally collapse. You get so pissed that they collapse, you get scared if you're going to collapse. Or you just get angry that it happened for some reason. And usually it's that. So I say that was a very good segment. Now, the match that I want to make it very clear, I was not fond of. I wasn't. Because of the ending. To be honest, I know people said, dude, you can't think that Tessa can just go for the main roster. There's too many heels there. as I said before, it doesn't matter how many heels or faces that are on the damn roster. She says she's better than every woman on the roster. She's got to prove it. Who has she beaten? Who? No one but one person. One. And that was Lin Yang Li. And now she gets a match. And I know you're going to say, what about Jordynne Grace? No, you cannot count Jordynne Grace. She was leaving the company. I'm not counting that. This is not about Jordynne Grace jobbing for her. This is about the women who are still there that need to continue to work with her. This is what many people don't get. When a person's leaving the company and they're putting someone over, yes, it could help them, but that's if they've been on the roster for a while and they have built up to that match. Tessa did not. And I say this again, and yes, what did we get? We got Fatal Influence with Tessa when you got Marsha, Ying Yang Lee, and Xia Brookside. And who took the pin? It wasn't Lin Yang Lee. It wasn't Xia Brookside. It was freaking Marsha Slamovich. Wrong. This was a major mistake. It's bad enough that you only had one real match without the leaving. Stay calm. Understand, guys. Seeing that Jordynne Grace leave and a Tessa Blanchard who had just barely been there a few weeks to almost like 2 or 3 weeks and near a month, and then gets that win was not enough. You got to understand, Tessa must rise through the ranks, no matter if she's got to go up against heels or faces, because there are a lot of people who are still not trusting her or believe her, and there are some who do. Me personally, it's not the point what she did with everyone else if the allegations are true or not. I am looking at this from a standpoint, if you really want to get her over correctly, if she's stating she's better than every woman on the damn roster, she needs to go through Rosemary. She needs to go through Xia Brookside. She needs to go through Heather, as well as Ash. And now when you heard about, not Megan, what was her name? Maggie Lee. Because now, while Ash is away, the concierge and now Heather are going to bring in Maggie Lee. She needs to go through all those women. She needs to take them all on and prove that she's the best. It doesn't make a difference if she's a heel going against a heel. If she's a face going against a face. It doesn't matter. She must prove it. Because if you really want to get her over and make sure there's no more discussions about why are we still seeing this damn woman after what she did to the company. Remember, people got long memories. And no matter if you care about her and you're happy to see her and you would say to someone, not me, because I don't care. I just want her to be built correctly. Not that I hate her or not that I like her. But if you as a fan are saying, oh, those guys don't like her, my girl's getting better. My girl's getting what she wants. She's going to be champ real quick. That's not the right way to be. You need her to get over correctly. And if you do it wrong, if they rush her to get a title really quickly before she's even had enough people to go through, I promise you, there's going to be a lot of problems. People are not going to like it. And that's going to hurt the company. No matter what you think, it will hurt her and it'll hurt the company. So let's hope they're not stupid enough by Rebellion to let her have a title shot. Whether she wins or not, it's wrong. She needs to prove it. Let's move on. Now, is that all the matches? Pretty much. Let's go to the remaining stuff that we saw. Let me give it to you like this. When I saw Staff DeLander and Mannix Warner, I wasn't really fond of or cared. But yes, the feud between him and Sammy has been not that bad. Yes, Sammy's eye has been screwed up. Hopefully it would do maybe a Monsters Ball match or a Full Metal Mayhem match or a Lockdown match. Maybe something. Something interesting. A last man standing match or a first blood match. Maybe something interesting. But didn't go there. We got Warner and staff deciding to do a makeout moment at the arena, which was okay. Look, who wouldn't want to kiss Steph DeLander? The only thing I got to worry about is her studs sticking you in your face. But that wasn't the thing that got me. When I heard Santino say he wanted the title back, I was, okay, good. Because neither one of them are champ. But when he said, what did I say? What did I tell you guys more than a year ago when PCO brought the Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion to prominence in his way? They should get rid of the Digital Media Championship and they should make the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship a real title. There was no reason why they couldn't. And they never did. And then PCO was removed, and then the Intercontinental title was just gone. And I said, missed opportunity. They could have done something with Legacy. Hold on. Even though I had 4 minutes left on my clock for my camera, I didn't want to take a chance. I didn't want to lose my train of thought. Let's make it clear. I called it, didn't I? Didn't I call it? Didn't I call that they needed to get rid of the Digital Media Championship and make a new title with some type of relevance? Now, mind you, they're not using the Intercontinental title. They didn't say that we're taking the legacy of the Intercontinental title and we're transforming into a new title. No, but they decided to do the International Championship. There's nothing wrong with that. A title that has a good name to it. Way better than the Digital Media Championship. Hell, the Grand Championship that they had years ago. Remember, when they were doing those matches like they were doing with the Heritage Cup in NXT, they were doing that with the Grand Championship. Remember, Moose is a 2-time Grand Champion. But now, we get the International Championship. I'm not going to lie to you. I was like, what? Thank you. Thank you. Now, mind you, I am happy that they're now making a new title with a better name that maybe will have some level of prestige. If they say at any time, and I wish they would, do a segment saying, we thought that when PCO was there, or not even mention PCO, we thought when we had the International Championship, and you can have either Tom or Matthew say it, that TNA brass in the back said, you know what, we needed a change. We had the legacy of the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship. Why don't we bring it back as the International Championship? I am hoping they do a YouTube video on it. I'm hoping they do a segment before Rebellion. Not Rebellion, Unbroken. Or Unbreakable. Sorry, Unbreakable. I'm trying to remember the name. But I wish they would do a video saying something about it. Because if they use the prestige of that title, the title that was created in 1936, I believe, and just renamed it to the International Championship, that will give it prestige that it needs and that people will recognize it. If they don't, hearing its International Championship, that's cool. But, I say this again, but as much as I'm happy they're getting rid of that Digital Media Championship where I never liked it, if they don't book the people who carry it, because look what happened with the Grand Championship. It fell off. They didn't want to book it correctly. Digital Media Championship, it fell off. It was never booked correctly. Yes, it was done on digital. Sucked. This needs to be done correctly. They better book the person who carries that title correctly and not just have damn matches without real stories behind it for the person who they're going to face or who they are. If they don't, this is going to be a waste of time. And it'll just be no better than what Impact would normally do. So let's hope they're using their head and not ruin that new title that I wish they would say its legacy comes from the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship from, I believe, Stampede Wrestling. I believe that's where it originally came from. I don't remember, but you tell me. Now, what else here? What else we have that's left? Let me give it to you like this. If I'm forgetting anything, which I am, I just remembered, D-System and Eddie saying, hey, the guys in the system, so you want to stay in or out? And he questioned everybody until they came to Moose. Everyone else said they want to stay in. Moose was stopped because of Cody Deaner. And seeing that Cody Deaner, and I'm saying this right now, I was never fond of him saying, I am following what the people say. But he won me over. I'm not a big fan of Cody, but he won me over that he made this gimmick, which is not a great gimmick. He got it over and the fans like it. He's still a comedic wrestler, and he's made a comedic, stupid gimmick have relevance. And as I've told people for years on this channel, it's not just getting the damn title and getting a payout. People care about you not because you're getting paid the most or you do the most incredible matches and hold the greatest title. They care about you because they care about relevancy. Something you do when you carry a title, when you do that match, when you as a person has importance. Cody has some importance because of this stupid gimmick. And that is good to see. And him trying to convince Moose to forget about being part of the system, wanting to be fired from the system, and hearing Moose say, you know, Cody, you're right. But then he kicks him in the face, they beat the crap out of him, and everyone stays in the system. I'm not surprised. But it does still give Cody more care, because people still care about Cody. He's trying to pander to the fans, which works. And seeing him get his ass handed to him is fine. It's not going to hurt him too much, other than getting kicked in the face by Moose, which is fine. I'm alright with that. So, if I'm forgetting anything, which I don't think I am, but let's put this in perspective. Even though we did get a couple of glitches during the night, like the audio was echoing when, Mackenzie was announcing, and in the back we did see one segment, and I believe it was with Marsha, when she was talking and audio went out of sync with video for a few seconds. Overall, this was a very good TNA Impact show. It was good to see they added things. Hell, we got 3 matches for Unbreakable. And, I forgot to say, well, you don't need me to tell you who's there because it's 9 people. It's going to be 3 matches, and the person who wins will be, I believe, the first international champion on Unbreakable, which will be live. I will see. I don't know if I'm going to be able to see it live. I'm going to see if I can see it live because there is something I have to do on that day, and I probably will be late, so I may have to catch part of it or all of it afterward because I think I'm going to be checking with family on that day, so I might not be able to do it. So when I do see it, it'll probably be a replay. If I can see it live, I'm going to want to see it live. But if I can't, you'll see my review. But guys, this was a good show. If you haven't seen it yet, watch it. It's not perfect, and I'm making it very clear, it is not perfect. But honestly, a lot of the building and storytelling is pretty good. But it's just me. Peace.